So, as the Mage Seeker released, so did the finale of the Katarina comic. And since every new episode gives us a new reveal, this time around we learned about a really interesting new bond between Katarina and Swain. Of course, since all of this is just one massive series, you should definitely watch our last videos to have full context on what is going on. Especially the last episode, since that one delves into the fact that Katarina is not a mage. At least, for now. So without further ado, let's have a look at the last episodes of the Katarina comic. And let's pick it up where the last episode ended, with Katarina getting ready for a blood ritual. Here we can see Katarina with her friend Dran in the middle of a ritual. Katarina is replaying everything that has happened to her in her head. She thinks about her father's plans to murder Swain. She thinks about how her father taught her how to be a true Noxian, and how he taught her to wield a blade. And she even brings up how she was never able to beat him. So of course, she started doubting herself. What if he and Talon were right about Swain being corrupted? Which is when Dran told her to shut up. Even though she didn't say anything, Dran noticed that she was thinking again. They were in the middle of a bonding ritual. It would bond her to her blades, and in order for the ritual to work, there had to be nothing between her and the magic. It was all about feeling her way to it. So Dran asked Katarina to stop trying to figure everything out. She had to remember a moment when she wasn't trying to figure out every angle. A moment when she just felt something and connected. Which is when Katarina remembered her encounter with Garen. And she started smiling like a teenager. So yeah, at this point the Katarina and Garen ship couldn't get any more real, since Katarina pretty much confirmed it herself. And apparently her teenage feelings were so strong, the ritual blew up. Katarina immediately started looking for her daggers, but Dran quickly stopped her. If the ritual was successful, Katarina should be able to reach out to her blades with her magic. So Katarina tried it, and it worked, making her swiftly zip up to her blade. This scene is amazing because this is the first time Katarina had ever used one of her abilities in the lore. Up until this moment, she really wasn't a mage. But this taught us that anyone can be a mage with the right ritual, even if the ritual is a bit dark. After this success, Dran confirmed that her blades were now bound to her. So for the other blade, instead of reaching out towards it, she told Katarina to just connect to it, which made the blade flash back to her instead. After using these new abilities, Katarina pointed out that the blades were quite bright and quite loud, not exactly perfect for stealth. But Dran assured her that with practice she would be able to make it work. I'm pretty sure this is a reference to the fact that her sound effects in-game are quite sharp and quite loud, especially her ultimate. Dran then asks if Katarina has to go. As far as they know, Swain can see danger coming at him from miles away. But Katarina pointed out that if her father was trying to kill him, it was because he knew he can. I wonder if this is a reference to one of Katarina's ancient voice lines. After this, the story goes into the depths of the immortal bastion, which could only ever mean one thing. LeBlanc had to be involved, since she is the only one who is delving into those forsaken catacombs. Let alone the fact that no one else knows that these places underneath the immortal bastion even exist. Anyway, we can see Marcus, surrounded by dark magic, sitting on the symbol of the Black Rose, as a dark voice is whispering to him. Apparently, Marcus requested elusive darkness, which is a form of stealthy magic. And he requested it from the Pale Lady, which is a nickname for LeBlanc. Which confirms one thing. This entire time, you know that I suspected that LeBlanc was controlling Marcus. It was obvious he wasn't really following Swain's orders. But I actually thought that Marcus was dead. And that LeBlanc was actually walking around with his body, you know, like Weekend at Bernie's. But nope, this confirmed that Marcus was actually alive. With the help of Talon, he faked his own death, and he was working from the shadows in service of LeBlanc. Anyway, in this scene, LeBlanc is asking him why does he need the dark magic. Marcus told her that their enemy had sight beyond mortal eyes, and he needed him blind. LeBlanc then asked him if he would fulfill his oath with this gift of darkness. And he confirmed yes, he would kill Grand General Swain, the corrupted vision of Noxus. But LeBlanc then asked him why did he wish to kill Jericho Swain. And Marcus told her to remove him from the Council of Three and to protect Noxus from his leadership. Of course, in case you don't know, Noxus is led by the Tripherics, which are 3 leaders. Vision, Might and Guile, or in other words, Swain, Darius and the Faceless One, who is theorized to be LeBlanc, but in reality we really have no idea who that person is. Anyway, here Marcus tells LeBlanc that he wants the dark power to remove Swain from the leadership. And in response, LeBlanc zaps him with dark magic because he was lying. In order to get the magic forged in his heart, he had to be truthful. So she asked him again, why did he want to kill Swain? And Marcus replied, for his wife, Soriana, for himself, and for the glory of House Dukuto. After all of this was revealed, LeBlanc accepted it, and with her magic he would be invisible to Swain's vision. So in the next scene we can see Marcus climbing the Immortal Bastion. He was surrounded by Swain's Raven, but in the next panel we can see the Raven's perspective where he was entirely invisible. And after he climbed a bit further, he found Katarina waiting for him. During this showdown, the two just laid out all of their cards. Marcus accused her of always failing him, and he added that she should blame Swain for sending her to Demacia. It really was Swain's order to kill the king. But Katarina wondered why exactly was she sent out instead of him. The only reason had to be because she was sent on a different mission. Previously, Marcus told her that she had 2 targets, King Jarvan and an extremely powerful mage known as Luxana Crownguard. But as it turns out, Marcus told her to kill Lux because this entire time, Marcus was working with Jeradan to free Silas, and Lux was just a loose end which he had to get rid of. And that's all while the original mission from Swain was to kill King Jarvan and Marcus Dukuto, which is the real reason why Katarina was chosen for the job. After the truth came out, the battle started with Marcus throwing out a grenade that filled the entire area with smoke. During the fight, Katarina tried to use her training, but she quickly realized that all of her tricks came from Marcus. So there was no chance she was going to defeat him in this way. And after her ribs got broken, she wasn't even able to summon her daggers through all the pain. So now, her only chance to win was to fight not like the Noxian she was taught to be, but like the Noxian she was. Which she did by immediately taunting her father. She shouted that she's sorry that Talon couldn't make it. And she added that she was ready to turn Talon to Swain so that he could teach him some manners. Because their father never did that. While the taunt didn't do much, it did cause a split-second anger, which put a little bit too much pressure on Marcus's step, and which gave Katarina the chance to smash his nose and break his knee. She followed this with more ruthless beating, and she told him that true Noxians wanted their children to be stronger than them. But all Marcus ever did was to set her up to fail so she would feel weak. And at this point it was obvious it's because the great Marcus Dukuto couldn't stand the fact that his daughter was stronger than him. The fight continued for a bit longer before it got to the point of no return. The point where Marcus pulled out the black powder grenade. Which is a clever callback to Swain's old black powder plot storyline. Anyway, this grenade had the power to topple the entire throne room of the Immortal Bastion. At first, Marcus wanted to get closer to minimize the collateral damage. But now he had no choice other than to detonate it immediately. Fortunately for Katarina, she could use her newfound powers to summon a dagger and cut the grenade from his hand. But there was no way she could throw the grenade far enough to save everyone and survive. So instead, she threw out her dagger so she could teleport to it with the grenade. By doing so, she would be able to choose the death she deserved. But at the last second, a certain demonic hand stopped her. And suddenly Swain appeared on the scene with the words, "Your empire needs you," as he let the demon focus the power of the explosion into Marcus Dukuto. When everything calmed down, Swain explained that he couldn't get here sooner because he couldn't see Marcus. However, he was able to see Katarina, which is how he figured out what was going on. Of course, all of this makes sense because Swain's Raven followed Katarina throughout the entire comic. A bit scared, Katarina replied that she now understands why people think that Swain was turned into a monster. And Swain agreed. He took the demonic power to kill the previous Noxian tyrant and to rebuild the Triforix. Because no person should be able to hold total power. Which is why Noxus needed Katarina. And this is perhaps the coolest reveal of this comic. Because the reason why Swain needed Katarina on her side is because Swain needed someone who could assassinate him should he become corrupted with the demonic power. He then added that her interventions in Demacia saved many lives. She served her empire proudly, and for that she earned Swain's trust with his life and death. To which Katarina replied that she had seen his powers now, and she knew exactly how to kill him. And that is how Katarina became very important to the overall storyline of Noxus. She became the safety mechanism for Swain to protect him from himself should the demon ever try to control him. But while this is a really cool reveal, this is not where the comic ends. Because after that, it all cuts to the northern Freljord, to a village that seems to be influenced by the Avarosans. Here we get a letter from someone who wrote to Jereden. This mysterious person thanks Jereden for returning Talon to them safely. He was currently mourning his father's death in Shurima. The letter confirmed that he didn't lose his vision, but there would absolutely be a scar. Of course, this is a reference to the last episodes where Katarina cut his eye. And yes, I still believe that this is a setup for Talon's future ASU. The letter continues that Swain thinks that he stopped their efforts to replace the Demacian king, and that he named Katarina the rightful head of the Assassin's Guild. From now on, the wars with the noble houses would get much louder. And with Katarina being at the center of it, Swain put himself into a vulnerable position should she ever fall. So in the light of the recent events, Jereden was encouraged to return to Noxus immediately to finish the job. And Jereden was totally ready to do it. Was it not for Katarina who shampooed behind him and killed him? Which is where the comic ends. While it is hard to guess who actually wrote the letter, I believe it was either LeBlanc herself or it was one of LeBlanc's followers. But it is interesting to see that Talon was taken to Shurima. Though it makes sense because LeBlanc has influence over that place too. We learned about all of that in Samira's story. So who knows, maybe Talon and Samira are going to get a story of their own. I mean, at this point, Samira could lend him her eye patch. But overall, I have to say, what a great comic series. On top of this, The Mage Seeker came out to some great reviews. And it became obvious that this is truly a love letter to all the people who love the lore of League of Legends. And again, it seems like Riot Forge is killing it. In League, we even got a mission that gives you some really cool icons and a ward. And actually, in general, all of this seems to be a really cool setup for something amazing in the future. And I don't mean just for the story. The last time Silas's story progressed further, we got a canon skin for him. So here, Katarina is totally getting a Freljordian skin, right? If not, they are totally doing Heartseekers now.